Good evening, everybody. I don't know what I am doing among the Devis, because I have not achieved anything so far. Anyway, Devi और सज्जनों, कि Devis यहाँ ज़्यादा हैं, सज्जन थोड़े कम हैं. All are welcome to a very special event organized by Sunday Standard. Let me talk about a little bit about my paper, because everyone confuses it with business standard. We don't do business, we do only news. So there are many people who do business also, but Sunday Standard was founded by Mr. Ramnath Goenka. Everybody must have heard about him. We are free today because of Mr. Ramnath Goenka. He started Sunday Standard well earlier in 1939. That was the only Sunday paper at that point in time. It was part of the Indian Express group. Later on, about 2000, the family split. Indian Express went to one son of the daughter, and New Indian Express went to the other one. So I represent the southern part of Indian Express, which is the New Indian Express, but Sunday Standard was all India paper. So in the memory of Mr. Ramnath Goenka, we decided to have our presence in Delhi with Sunday Standard. It is a weekly Sunday paper of New Indian Express, which was founded by Ramnath Goenka way back 80 years ago. We live with this spirit, fear none, favor none. That is what he told us when he hired me as Indian Express editor in 1991. उन्हें बोला बेटा किसी से डरना भी मत, किसी से फेवर भी मत लेना. अगर फेवर लेनी है तो अखबार के लिए लेना, फिर उसके बाद जो करना है करते रहना, उसके बाद जो करना है आपको. So that is the spirit we want to represent here in Sunday Standard, and we are trying to bring them out from various cities. We are going to Jaipur, we are going to Lucknow, we are going to Chandigarh, we are going to various places in the near future to keep that spirit going on. And we have got here today to award the Devis. In India, we worship our Devis as nurturer, protector, the giver of knowledge and wealth, and the arbiter of justice. At the same time, we ill-treat them. But Modi ji जैसे कहा उन्होंने कि इस देश के अंदर देवियों की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है, कि देवता तो बहुत हैं, देवी थोड़ी कम हैं. कि अगर काउंटिंग शुरू करेंगे कहते हैं कि 33 करोड़ देवा देवती हैं, अगर काउंटिंग शुरू करें तो देवियां कम हैं, उसके अंदर देवता ज़्यादा हैं. तो हिंदुस्तान को वी नीड मोर देवी दीज डेज, बिकॉज इंडिया कैन सर्वाइव ओनली इफ द विमेन इन इंडिया कैन डू मच बेटर देन द मैन, एंड फ्रैंकली दे आर डूइंग मच बेटर नाउ. कैन यू इमेजिन टू देवीज? आई वॉन्ट टू से मीरा कुमार वॉज द फर्स्ट, एंड सेकेंड वन सुमित्रा महाजन जी. शी लॉर्ड्स ओवर 500 men in the parliament. She is the Lord of Parliament. She is the Devi, Super Devi of Parliament. And here is our Chief Minister. She lords over all the 200 MLAs in Rajasthan. Most of them are men. So we have to learn from them. We have got Mrs. Gandhi, we have got Mamata Banerjee, whether you like her or not. When she roars, West Bengals keep quiet. So that's what that kind of Devis we have got. And we have got here Devis who have done much better in business also. Because we thought business was only meant for men. But what is happening now, I'm feeling very insecure because most of my editors are women now. I feel that I'll be displayed by one of the women these days. When I was in India today, 9 of my top 12 editors are women. Ultimately, one of them replaced me as editor later on. And I'm feeling very proud of it, that I selected the right Devis at that point in time. So Devis are quite dependable, quite trustworthy. Sometimes they get emotional. They react in a manner which they should be, of course, because they protect the house, they protect the husband, they protect the son, they protect the daughter-in-law, they protect the sister-in-law. They do everything. Therefore, they deserve much more than what we deserve. The Sunday Standard believes that not only must this stop the torture against women, because every day you see rape is happening, unarmed women are being chased, wounded, all sorts of things are done to them, and we men take out the candle sometime, but later on we forget about it. Now the Devis are learning to protect themselves as well. So this thing against women must stop. We must start celebrating, so we decided that we must start celebrating the achievements of all women, whether they have gone from being our better half. What I'm talking about, that we call them better half. I don't know who coined this word, I have not figured out so far. Why better half? Because they are the best half, I think. Without them, men would have been incomplete anyway. But when somebody who gave them the better half, I think he was unfair to the women because ultimately history has proved, experience has proved, they are the best half and not the better half. Because among the CEOs, if you look at in the country now, world over, many women are coming up. In India also that is coming up now. You look at what's happening in the central cabinet. Modi has got top 5 women in the cabinet. Look at Smriti Irani. सास भी कभी बहू थी, वो सबकी सास नहीं, सबकी बहू भी है, आजकल सबकी हेडमास्टर नहीं भी बन गई है आकर. Look at Sushma Swaraj बहन जी. She's all over the world talking to the heads of the state. Can you ever imagine? Because she is after Mrs. Gandhi, she is the first woman foreign minister of India in 65 years of independence. Nobody became the foreign minister, and she is the first foreign minister of India who was a woman. Smriti Irani, the first HRD minister being a woman. So she knows how to teach students, not only teach politicians also, but she knows how to teach students as well, who misbehave or behave properly. Nirmala Sitharaman, she is not from a business family, but she is handling the commerce ministry and she has done extremely well. She speaks less, but acts very firmly. And so is Ms. India here. She decimated the Congress party. Nobody expected. When she said, I'll win 25 plus, there's no plus there, only 25 seats are there. And she delivered. I'll get 25, and she delivered 25 seats to Mr. Narendra Bhai Modi, and she stood by that. She broke the record of winning assembly seats as well. So she is our super Devi here at the moment. Ideally, we would have liked to celebrate all the Devis who are here today, because most of them are here. But we have made a start with 20 special Devis who are achievers, and we are celebrating their achievements today in this hall. They have transformed their immediate world with the courage of their convictions. They are not here just to make money, but they believe they should do better in India, do for everything else. They believe in conviction. For them, conviction is not a matter of convenience. What they believe in, जो कहती हैं, वो करती हैं. चाहे उसके लिए कुछ भी भुगतना पड़े, ऐसी देवियां हमारे बीच के अंदर हैं कि करेंगे, मरेंगे, अच्छा काम करेंगे. उस हिसाब से सारी की सारी देवियां यहाँ पर बैठी हैं. They have got the power of personalities, the strength of their efforts, and the voltage of their intellect. लोग कहते हैं कि Devi is not intellect. You argue with them. They have the best argument. They can defeat any man in the debate. You put Vasundhara Raje in front of anybody men, including the Prime Minister of India, I wouldn't want to say, but both are matched and both are competing with each other in terms of good work, good governance. I think, sorry? Yeah, you say. So I'm not saying you are I'm saying there is a competition happening. Women are competing in terms of good system, so that good governance is also given, good delivery in terms of business, in terms of entrepreneurs, in terms of arts, in terms of fashion, in terms of every field you want to take it, women are excelling in their field, and they're beating men hollow there. They play a stellar role in their line of work, which includes the arts, science, medicine, policing, luxury, business, and social issues. They have been carefully chosen by senior editors of the group and jury of eminent personalities. And I'm happy to say that we could not have chosen better Devis than they have done now. We are proud of choosing them here. They are ahead of everybody else in the field which we have chosen for. And we have, every Indian is a Devi in herself who empowers and inspires all of us. Like our chief guest, Vasundhara Raje India, the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, who is Super Devi herself, which I told you earlier, as a leader, as a reformer, a mother-in-law, an important member of the society, she has been an inspiration not just to others, Devis, but to all of us. Please join me in welcoming her to the first edition of Sunday Standard Awards. I invite her to please give some few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chawla, I thought he'd never give way to me. But it's an old habit. We've been together on many a program, and I know how difficult it is to get by Prabhu. I have not been able to understand. He has spoken about us Devis in great and glowing terms. It's something that's now a part of the world. We don't have to talk about it anymore. It's taken for granted. We don't talk about the better half. We know it's the best half. We don't talk about all of these things because now we don't treat men as exalted beings. We treat them as partners. We treat them as equals. We work with them, and in most cases, we do well or better. But we don't rub it in. We go along with them. And today I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it was a bad day for me because I had the Chief Minister's Council, which is working on, and very rare, very difficult to get you business people, to political homelands. And so with great difficulty, I've managed to get them all together. And today and tomorrow, we were discussing what we were going to do with Rajasthan and also the budget. But we have a gentleman here who is extremely persuasive. And so I'm here with you tonight. I go right back immediately after this. I wanted to come and pay my tribute to the Devis, to all the ladies and gentlemen who are here this evening, and to tell you that it's an extremely interesting idea. And probably it should have come much, much earlier. But I'd say one thing, that I'll congratulate the Sunday Standard for having picked up the gauntlet and today created this program around 20 very exciting, very interesting, very different kind of ladies who have in their own areas conquered all. And by the way, I need to tell you this, it's not because of the courage of conviction. It's because of hard work. It's because of sweat and blood. It doesn't take you long to understand that these ladies who've made a mark in whatever field that they have done so because of sheer grit, because they've hung in there, because they've had the courage, yes, of their conviction, but because they've worked jolly hard for it. It hasn't come free. So, as I would say, it's, we do make a big production out of the fact that it's something that we go back to evolution. We talk about the Devis. We talk about the fact that our daughters are considered Devis. We talk about the fact that we name these little children after the Devis. But the fact is that on a good day, it's maybe some derisive or lewd comments. On a bad day, you can look at sexual abuse. This is what is happening in general in the country today. This is an elite gathering. And we perhaps have been able to make a niche in our areas of work. And so we are here today. But there are many, many like us who are suffering and who are still trying very, very hard to break that glass ceiling. I can tell you that from the days of the caves to the penthouse, that's a long journey. But in this journey, women have been the agents of change and will continue to be the agents of change. Because they're the ones who will provide, even if it's a small amount of, maybe it's an incremental amount, but that dynamism that is required to make the movements, that I believe is in part of her DNA. It's part of the ladies, of the women's DNA, and that's the one that they would utilize to create the situation that makes the change in the life of not just the woman, but the family. Today, ladies and gentlemen, out of an estimated 1.3 billion people that live in poverty across the world, 70% of them are women. And nearly in every country, these women work longer hours than men and earn much less. The gender that makes up half the world's population owns just 1% of the land of this world, I mean, if you look at the divisions between men and women, I really think that it isn't an equal world. So even though we are fighting our way through it, it isn't equal still. The human race has still to condition itself to believe in the differences of gender and also in the equality of gender and also in the fact that there isn't very much difference between men and women. It's just the make and the shape. I want to say, and in fact today I'd like to celebrate some of the people that I have come across in my life. As a woman, what is my role? You think that all of us, and particularly the 20 that you'll be meeting, they're tough, they're strong, they don't have very many feelings because they have to go through the world very strongly without recourse to tears and such like. But I'd like to say that apart from all of this, they are caregivers, they are mothers, and they know how to fight ferociously for their families. But alongside in that, there is a human in all of us, at least there is, I know, in all of us, in mine. I believe that somewhere when you go along and when you do the kind of hard work that you do, because none of this comes free, at that point, I do want to excel, yes. I do want to scale new heights, but I do like to receive some encouragement for the kind of work that I do. I like to be appreciated. And even if you would point fingers and criticize, I would appreciate the criticism not for the sake of criticism, but actually to be able to make a difference in my way of thinking so that I could make a difference in somebody else's way of thinking. To that criticism, I'm prepared to listen. But just not for the sake of being criticized. I believe the ladies who are going to receive these awards today will understand what I'm talking about. It's not been easy. It's a very, very tough time. I'll give you an example. When the BJP in Rajasthan decided that for the panchayat elections, we're going to make it a 50% for women candidates, there was a huge hue and cry and everybody said, how is it possible? How can we make women candidates? They can't read or write. Of course, they forgot that there were lots of men who couldn't read and write. How can you probably do that? So I said, we will, because if we need to change the world, we need to change the way women think. We need to change how people think about women. And when we do that, she will change the family. And when that happens, the thinking at those levels, whether it's the panchayat, whether it's the municipalities, or even higher up, people will start to think differently. So we went ahead with this change. The husbands arrived with their wives in tow with long, those ghungats like we have in Rajasthan. Everyone wears long ghungats, you can't see their faces behind it. And they arrived with their wives and said, you can give these women tickets. Those women got the tickets, then they won the election. And the husbands arrived at the first day of work with their wives and sat at the same table next to their wife and said, we asked, why are you sitting here? They said, you see, she won't be able to understand anything. So it's very important that, because we will tell her what to do, and then she will sign. This was day one. 1.5 years later, I went back to the same panchayat. I was very happy to see that the lady who had won the election, well, her ghungat had gone slightly higher, reached a little bit like this. And the gentleman was not sitting there anymore. And I asked her, where is your husband? And she said, he's just taking care of the kids. And I'm just going to be working on a few papers. Well, I did have the opportunity to ask her husband. And he, in all humility, and I must congratulate him for that, said to me, you see, well, I have to support my wife, like he had any choice. I have to support my wife, and I am very happy to do this. She sits in office, now she's learned how to sign, she knows how to do the work because it's quite instinctive. And I decided that I would support her and spend some time at home and look after the children. So I thought it was very generous, and I thought that here is what we're talking about. Sharing between the genders, and also equality between the genders. That had begun. But we see difficulties still. When I go back to the constituencies and I see, why aren't adolescent girls getting into school? They are in school because we have given all kinds of helping hands, like hot meals in the afternoon to keep the kids in school. right up to class 8 and 12. And I wondered why girls at the age of, let's say, 9, 10 and onwards dropped out of school. Others came with their brothers, ate the food, studied, and till class 9, till they were age 9, they were in school. Then I discovered, and this was quite early on, that they were embarrassed because they couldn't go to the toilet. There were no toilets. They couldn't stay because now they had attained puberty. It was very difficult for young girls to stay in school and not know where to go. So we started to develop these, looked at toilets across the state, and I'm really grateful to the Prime Minister because at that moment in time, toilets was not a big word. Toilets were not a word that figured in anyone's vocabulary. And toilets were not a word, certainly, that you used from the ramparts of the Red Fort. But I believe that that one action has made the difference because everyone's come out of the woodwork and everyone is accepted that it is vital. If we need to change the lives of the families of those areas, we need to educate the women. And if we need to educate the women, these things have to happen within the schools. So that change is starting to happen. You won't believe it, even today, as India changes, the open defecation situation is still bad in the countryside. But now it's getting worse because there was a time when there was land available, when there were shrubberies and jungle. Now all of that land is being reclaimed. There's industry, there's all kinds of things happening. The women are having a problem. So again, we do need to create toilet facilities to take these people back so that women do not have to demean themselves on the streets. And we are going to take care of that. I think it's extremely important to take care of those girls at that age group and also to take care of the women so that they don't have to go out in the dead of night or at the crack of dawn so that no one would see them and that there is no facility for them. So we're making that now a very major part of our program in Rajasthan. So I believe that we need to be able to look towards women now. We need to strengthen them because we have come to the conclusion that if you strengthen women, you will, at every level, strengthen society. So this is where we are going just now. So we made small changes. Some of the changes, looked at scholarships, looked at pensions. But we made one small change, which I thought was, in a way, also path-breaking. Men don't share property with women. Under normal circumstances, at least. I don't know now here, but down back in the districts, they do not. So we made it very clear that if you want stamp duty rebates, if you want tax rebates, then put the property in your wife's name. If you put the property in your wife's name, there will be a certain amount of tax rebates, stamp duty rebates, and I'm happy to tell you, there was a huge shift. There was a huge shift. Suddenly, everybody decided that they could trust their women. And the wives are now the proud owners. And in Rajasthan and as in other parts of India, you will always see this picture. When you think of the villages, you think a man in front with his turban, upright and straight, walking into the sunlight and sunsets, and the woman behind, all bundled up in her sari with this huge big bundle on top of her head, following behind the man. That picture has changed just a little. I think that you could either bring them up to par, and maybe sometimes he carries that bundle on his head, which I think is a very, very good improvement. SHGs, self-help groups, that's the other thing that women have suddenly decided. And of course, we are supporting them from government. We are making them understand that if you're economically sound, then you do not have to worry about the future. And you do not become economically sound just because you depend on your husband. You can become economically sound yourself. So groups of 5 women, groups of 8 women, groups of 10 women have started to do all kinds of things. Just the latest one, and I'm really pleased with that one, so I just was looking at some self-help groups about 5 days ago. And they brought on a group of women who were bright, enthusiastic, and aggressive. And they said, we are plumbers. We are hand pump mistris. We ladies go from village to village, and where the hand pumps are out of order, we repair them, and we repair them very well. And they are now part of the government, because we tell all the villagers that these are the people that you can have on your list. These are the people that government supports. Now these women are part of that list that the government supports, and I'm happy to tell you they do a really, really good job. Now this is an area which normally people thought was a man's so-called area. The women are doing a great job. So don't feel nervous about it, Prabhu. You just mentioned that you're getting this kind of feeling that perhaps, it isn't perhaps. It isn't perhaps. You're absolutely right, it is. And the beauty is, we don't even let you feel it. You're still thinking perhaps. And I'd also say over here, women's access to microcredit, that's another very big thing. Business over here, anyone who's doing any kind of microcredit will say, and I know a lot of people who came to Rajasthan to set up the microcredit organization said to me that we prefer to deal with women. And I always asked them, I said, why is that? Because a loaner, you loan, a person that you lend to, it becomes, has to pay back at some point in time. They said, no. The women will always pay back. It's a cent% guarantee, so if we give it out, unless they're really, really troubled or they really have a problem, which is very rare, they will pay you back. And so we believe that when we give out credit, and we're doing microcredit programs, we like to work with women. There's another feather in their cap. And I believe we're talking about a level which is not in the millions and the billions. We're talking about in the hundreds and the thousands. There are small loans. And there's an interest attached to those small loans. But these women are not only capable of taking the loan, but of paying back the loan, and of also creating a small business of their own, which they feel very proud of. And they say that we've been able to stand on our own feet, and we feel differently now. We want to learn how to sign. We want to be able to learn the basic structure of how we can be if we are on our own. If something happens to some members of my family, what will happen to me? I'm not worried about it anymore. I know I can survive. This is a very, very big thing. And I think that we've managed to reduce to some extent that vulnerability and stimulated the local economy, because that has happened with them. And that, I believe, is a very big step in the right direction. Now let's get to the police part of it. Yes, the most problematic for us is the manner in which thugs, because it's thugs. It's not a man, woman. It's thugs look at women. And therefore, it's very important that women feel strong enough to walk into a police station, that they don't feel embarrassed about going to it. They can walk into a police station with strength, and for that, we have started to create these Mahila police thanas, where the women can go and be comfortable. Comfortable in the sense that you can't be comfortable in a police thana, but at least you know that you can go there and be heard. So we believe that very soon all our districts would have this. And at the same time, a child help desk alongside that. Because these work almost in tandem with each other. Any kind of child abuse needs to get reported, and the Mahila Thanas are a good place for this particular type of crime to be handled. And I believe also this is another good thing. Our police went out to the schools, talked to the young girls, and the young girls have taken up with great enthusiasm training in self-defense. So there's a whole lot of youngsters in school who are learning all this training in self-defense, and I really believe I wouldn't want to come across them on a dark night. So I think people are going to have to start thinking differently, because more and more women have taken this on, and at some point in time they're going to come a cropper if anyone does accost them in the night. The most important scheme actually which I've come up with, and which we've been working on since 2004-05, is the direct benefit transfer scheme, financial inclusion, which we call the Bhamasha scheme in Rajasthan. Now this actually deals with 50 lakh, what they call the BPL families. Those are headed by their women. We have decided that the women are going to be the head. And to the women, we are giving a card. That card is, you can access by now swiping it, or you can even normally access it by a biometric. And on that card, we have said that if you open your account, you will get 1,000 rupees, and then in 6 months' time, another 1,000 rupees. And Mr. Modi's Jan Dhan program goes very well with it, so we have actually taken this financial inclusion to another level, joining up with his Jan Dhan program. So actually, Rajasthan's program is going to turn out to be a really interesting program, because he has said that after 6 months, you can overdraw up to amount of 5,000 or 6,000. And now you can overdraw that. So you get 2,000 rupees plus 6,000 rupees for the women. And then there's a health insurance scheme from 30,000 to 3 lakhs on it, plus his accident claim scheme, which comes on to this. But alongside that, we are even wanting to go as far as the ration shop. So lots of things are going to come onto this platform. And I believe this is going to be a really, really empowering moment, because with this one card, you can do away with money as such, certain amount of corruption, definitely, and be able to transfer all government monies straight into their accounts without having to pay the post office or allow for any leakages. And I think for us, it's a very, very big scheme. I told them all in Rajasthan, because we just rolled it out on the 15th. It's taken us a lot of hard work and a lot of time, but I believe we've come to that stage where the error margins are now below 3%. It's taken us that much time to get it there. But you know, it took 15 years to do it in America. Here in India, it has now been 2 years then, and this 1 year. Of course, in between, government had just dropped it, so they didn't talk about it at all. So in 3.5 years, we've been able to leapfrog a whole lot of things to get this thing moving. And I believe that women are really, really going to do very well using this. So, in the end, I'd just like to say that it's a very big movement. The women have decided that there's a space that they can carve out for themselves. And it's not just the women who are doing business, who are at the top of the level in places like Delhi and Bombay, but it's happening even at the level of the villages, where you wouldn't imagine that something like this would happen. There is a silent revolution happening. And I am very, very proud of that revolution. And I believe that all of us are going to go out of our way to support that revolution, because that revolution actually changes the life of the people in that area. The women have the strength, the women have the courage of their conviction, and the women are prepared to work hard for it. So it is in this backdrop that this evening's celebrations become extremely, extremely important. Today's Devis, all 20 of them, some, and in fact all very well known to all of you. They have really excelled in their respective spheres, and each of these is a woman of substance with a huge and indomitable spirit. And I believe that from science to mountaineering, from music to architecture, from crime control to business, from law to hospitality and entertainment to health, they have left an indelible mark in whichever field they've worked in. So, basically broken through the glass ceiling and are now equal with the gender, with everyone. I mean, I wouldn't want to say men and women, but I say basically people have learned to be equal to each other and work well with each other. So I want to congratulate from the bottom of my heart all those ladies who've managed to do that and who've become examples for the rest of us, who've become examples because they'll get written up about and who will be followed in those spheres, I'm sure. So again, a huge, huge congratulations. Tell me something, Prabhu. You've been through every field over here. From Mary Com downwards, we have these amazing women in sports. How come you never thought of any one of them? A different category, I see. This is what happens. We break them into categories. But to end this, I'd just like to say a huge congratulations to you for having thought of this. It was an idea very long in the coming, but it's an idea that's now found its place. And I want to say thank you to all those ladies who have worked for the benefit of all those others, because you will make that mark. And I really, really believe that it's my privilege to be able to interact with you all today. So thank you all for having me here today. And now I should like to hand over to the Devis. It is their evening after all. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you for having me here today.